Hello, and welcome to the Bold Black Girls podcast. I'm Aries.
And I am Kim.
Hello, Kim.
Well, hello, Aries.
How are you doing,
I'm good. This is
sis?
your month.
This is my month. It is Team Aries month.
Right? Oh, you don't
At
have
least
your
half,
Aries cup today.
at least half of it. Oh yeah, I'll say that for next week because
Okay.
next week is my birthday and Ramadan Dam, so that'll be a special episode
Yes, can't wait.
talking about me.
We
I'm
can
just playing.
talk
I have
about
no idea.
seriously, we should do a special episode all about you. I'm gonna think of something.
Mm. Yeah. So I was tripping.
Yeah, you were because you just shared something with me. Would you like to share
I was
with the
like,
people? Share with the people what you had just shared with me.
because somebody said I was talking to the president for ATW and I was like, oh hey, and she was like, oh, is this your birth? Is your was she thought this week was my birthday week. So I was like, no, it's next week, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, is this a milestone or whatever? I'm like, and as I'm telling her, like, oh no, it's not a milestone. Like, I'm 42. I was like, I'm 42. I was like,
It
I'm
doesn't
an
even feel like
old
it.
bee.
No, you are not old.
42. That sounds ancient.
Well, they
I
have
love my
said
40s. I'm sorry. I love the 40s,
right.
but saying that sounds weird to me. For me.
So I actually had a similar realization. I was like, I'll be 40 next year.
Next year?
Not yet.
Oh, next
Yeah,
year.
next
Ooh.
year.
Mm.
So
We got to do something. We
I'm
got to go somewhere.
entitling this the road to 40. After this
Mm.
birthday, after my last my 39th birthday, I'm like, wow, this is literally the road to 40.
It is the road, honey. Get on this train, girl. It's good though. 40s are good. It's a secure
Have they
place.
been better? And I know you're only like 1 year in.
Yeah, I've been 2 years strong now, I'm about to be at the 2-year mark. And so it's like when you start a new job, you're like, so we're on a 2-year mark.
Right.
Now. So I've gotten to know the lay of the land. I've met the appropriate people, built these relationships. So yeah, it's interesting. I'm a little worried about myself to a certain degree because I'm so like I'm in a very content space when it comes to just how my stuff is set up.
Right.
That I'm like, are you going to be able to be flexible? Like, welcome someone else into this
To
at
your
some point.
And
yeah, I'm getting kind of set in my little ways, and so I have to challenge myself and do some things that kind of put me out of my comfort zone, which is why I'm a part of a lot of different groups that challenge me, force me to work with people, teamwork, things like that, that just kind of don't allow me to just be in my own little spot. I have to work with others. So doing that, I think it helps you kind of get out of your selfish
and that helps
space.
with compromise.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I got kids, so
and those are the best roommates that you can ever have that will test you and stretch you.
Oh yes. And so that is a very and they're getting older, they're getting more mature. It's just it's a whole nother experience. So I'm looking forward
you're doing
to
some
it.
reflection, I see, and some introspection of
because I'm like, dang girl, you are 40.
And then just think, I mean, in a few years you'll be 45. Then next thing you know, 50 will be slapping you in the face.
Girl, we're not going that far now. Hold on. You went way too fast for me. I'm not ready for that. I can barely say 42. I almost said 43 though. I was like, wait, how old am I about to be?
I was like, I
almost forgot.
I can't believe I'm going to be 39 this year.
39 is a good year.
I think it is.
Because you're turning that corner. You're coming around that bend. And it's something that happens in those 40s that, right now you feel like, I don't really tripping off what nobody's. You really start not tripping off of what nobody thinks, not what they say, not how it makes them feel, any of that. You're going to be considerate. You're going to be loving. You're going to do all that. But guess what? It's just for me. It's just me. Now, there's some people that might still be struggling in these areas. But like for me, I've done the work to release myself from people's expectations, how they feel about me,
what they project on you.
And it's like, hey, I'm not and I don't contribute. I'm not going to participate in things that I feel don't add value.
I'm there with
and
you.
that I can't add value to. Because if it's like, I don't want to just be soaking up stuff from you. And I also don't want to just be giving of myself. I got to feel like we got something going on here. So
We'll save that because I think we're going to get a little bit more deeper into that. So,
okay.
Post check, just a reflection
Yes.
of I'm going to be 42.
Yes. Oh
How are
my
you
gosh.
feeling energy, mood wise? Because I know you had projected your low energy on me a couple of weeks ago.
It's getting a little better. I did get some vitamin D, some gummies though. Because
It's the D for me.
It's the D for me as well. I have a multivitamin that I take, but and I do the gummies because if it's a pill, I'm not gonna be consistent because I don't like pills.
Why?
I don't like them.
I'm not a
It just
fan
feels
of them.
like
I know. I'm not a fan of them. But as you know, you were like, "Oh, your energy is low." I'm like, "Yeah, you projected that on me." And
it was low though.
It was
already low. You was taking naps all the time.
Yes. And so now I'm probably a good 3 weeks strong on the vitamin D.
You feel better?
I could tell the difference.
Good. Well, I just started I just got them from Sprouts yesterday. I was looking for the gummies. I was like, I need the gummies. I need the gummies. So if I'm gonna be consistent, because I'm on it. When I'm telling you, since I've gotten the multivitamins like that, I've been taking them every single day this whole year. Like since the coronavirus stuff happened, I was like, I need my immune system to be together.
Right.
So I said, let me do that with the vitamin D as well. So I'm doubling up on those because I'm like, I think I need more than, they give you, it's like 1,000.
I think 1,000 a day is good
but I'm up in mine. I needed to speed up.
Well, and especially since we really haven't been outside, right? So now I drive with the sunroof back. And the sun
some rooftop, digging the scene with the gangster link, gangster white wall.
Yes. So literally, I drove over to your house today with the sun.
Come on, somebody with the sunroof.
Let this vitamin D hit me.
I'm not mad
the
at
natural. So I do feel way better not taking as many naps.
And we got that book that Alicia recommended to us. You got that book for us. She drove all across town to go pick it up. I said,
that's what friends are for.
Yes, ma'am. You did that. So I was like, I'm looking forward to diving in there and figuring out what foods I like that are in there that I can use too.
And I think we already do a good job, but just being more aware and intentional. And Tony kind of talked about that when we had her on as well. So I think that this is all coming to us through our podcast. That it's a reminder. I mean, I'm even cleaning up my eating, doing more cooking at home.
Girl, have you heard of Queen Afua? I wish we can get her on the podcast. We're small time. She might not do us.
Maybe I have.
But she has the Sacred Woman, and she does the detox. She has a detox program, and she does the Heal Thyself. And it's a way that you can use food to heal your body. And like she works with women who have womb issues to heal those things going on inside your body. So all this kind of stuff. But I'm thinking about going through her detox when we get back.
Okay.
When we get back.
They don't know where.
They don't know where.
Right.
But that'll be, we'll talk about that next time. When we get back. So
I have heard of her, and we don't realize like how the food we eat can also impact our mood.
Oh yeah.
So I've been very intentional. I think I was talking to you yesterday. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go to Whole Foods. You're like, oh, fancy.
Right. She is fancy though. I used to love Whole Foods though. Like that was my go-to spot for a long time.
It sure was.
Until Sprouts. And I was like, Sprouts, you know what? You are right with me.
Well, Sprouts has always been my really go-to. I will pivot over to Whole Foods because there are certain things there I do like. So I did go to Sprouts yesterday and I got everything that I needed.
Because Sprouts got it all. We're not being sponsored by them, but if they want to, that's fine.
And my bill was not my whole paycheck.
I'll be coming out. It'd be like $50. I'm like,
and you have food literally for all week. Exactly. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Right. I'm like, okay, I love it. So trying to work on that. I notice, that my discipline is low as well when it comes to the food and the working out and all that. So I need to get that under control so that I can get back into a discipline of, and creating positive habits when it comes to like my
positive habits. I love it.
Positive habits out of back with the eating. I used to be on it, y'all. I used to be working out every day. I used to have I go to Whole Foods, get all my little food, have it already. And so I just been off. I mean, I'm not eating crazy, but
No,
it's like, it's just not
as disciplined.
I need it to be in order. And right now I feel like I'm not in order. So after the next couple weeks, I think I'm going to be ready to get back
for a reset.
Yeah, I need a reset.
Control Alt Delete. We about to reset.
Control Alt Delete. Exactly.
So we're both on the up and up.
Yeah.
Our favorite show is back.
Our show is back. Our favorite reality show. Because you know, I've been binge watching Girlfriends, rewatching that, and so I'm almost done.
And you have a different perspective.
It's so different.
You're older.
I was like, Joan and Tony are so toxic.
I'm gonna go back and watch it.
But it's toward the end, so that's been good. But this reality show is Ready to Love, and we're gonna be recording a separate kind of recap episode that'll be on our YouTube channel. That it's just for fun for us to kind of just talk about the characters and all that stuff and what's going on. So you know, we got the casting special came out the other day, so we're gonna just kind of talk through what our predictions are of who we think how they're gonna be and all that good stuff. So check that out on our page. That'll be up this week as well. What else? So I don't think we talked about the Georgia voting rights crapola that's been going on.
That they just
so basically there's been this Governor Brian Kemp and his folks. This is the stuff that's in there. So they passed this. The new law includes measures that cut the time period voters have to request absentee ballots and impose new identification requirements. Makes it easier for state officials to take over local election boards. So, like, remember when we were in this whole situation during the election where they had to go make sure that the votes were coming in and all these people who were looking over everything. So they basically are saying like some of these state officials who may be
over the process.
Yes. And that would not go well. Limit the use of ballot drop boxes. Allow challenges to voting eligibility. You know, that's already going to be in question.
Exactly.
Criminalize any attempt to approach voters in line, even if only to give them food or water.
Wow.
What is that? Why?
A setup.
Because guess what? Because they're going to be having them in line for 50 million hours. Replace the elected Secretary of State as chair of the state election board with a new appointee of the legislature after Republican Secretary of State Brad Ravensburger rebuffed former President Trump's attempts to overturn Georgia's election results. So these are different things where it's more voter suppression, basically. All the things that Stacey Abrams was fighting against. They basically went in and was like, oh, what happened? How did they get this done last time? Let's fix all that. Let's reverse everything so that they can't do this again, you know, and stuff like that. And it's so obvious. But the reason why this came to my radar was actually that 72 Black executives call on corporate America to fight these voter restrictions. So we're seeing a lot of corporate America stepping up to take action against what's going on over there, letting people know like, hey, we're not with this. So these are CEOs. We have former American Express CEO Ken Chenault, outgoing Merck CEO Ken Frazier, Melody Hobson, our girl who we love. The current TIAA CEO Roger Ferguson, the one who the Sunda, she's taking his spot when he leaves.
Yes.
So him, John Rogers, Robert F. Smith. So there's a bunch of Black executives that are coming in and saying, hey, this is a civil rights issue. We need other people to come in and stand up and not be silent about this. We don't support it. And also, you saw that the Major League Baseball took their All-Star game out, and there are people saying, oh, they're bending to the left, liberal, blah, 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 whatever. But anyway, I like that.
I loved it.
Yeah, because I feel like in these corporate spaces, all these places who were saying we support black people are the ones that are going to be affected most by these laws that they're passing right now. They're just trying another way to suppress the vote. And we can't let that go. So I love that they're not just talking about it, they're being about it.
Yes. And I love how they're unifying. And like you said earlier, we were talking offline.
Organized.
Yes.
Yes.
And I think we definitely need to do more of that. And so it's good to see it. Like you said, I know there are a lot of companies. And if your company isn't, speak up too. You know, there are ways that you can make your voice be heard and have the impact within your company.
Definitely.
Like, how are we going to, you said you were going to support us.
Each person, wherever you are, has a way that you can do something, wherever your space is. If you're in corporate and you are part of an ERG or, you know, different type of employee resource groups or some type of, you know, I don't know, whatever kind of group in your company that you can have a voice to just ask these questions. Yeah. What are we doing to help?
Leverage those ERGs and say, hey, how can we organize and unify and bring this attention to the CEO and see how are we going to stand as a company?
Yeah, because, you know, everybody's not, I had Kim laughing because I was up late last night on in Clubhouse. There's this room that basically it's a group that is all about the legacy of Malcolm X. And so what they do is like every week they'll analyze one of his speeches. So they might have to break it up into two, but this particular one that we were listening to last night was his message to the grassroots and saying how, you know, a lot of these national leaders that you see, they put their names, they're the ones being propped up by corporate in certain ways that they're funding them and doing all that. But really the grassroots is where change happens. That's where everybody could really do something in every place that they're at. You got people who are going to be out here on the streets marching and protesting and doing things like that. But then organizing different ways that they can go out there and fight these policies and things like that. But also within your company, you have a voice as well. So just using that voice for change. Salesforce, they have a policy track, I guess you would call it, kind of within their racial equity plan. So they have a team of people that are looking at things like this. And so certain companies have these areas where they are looking at policies as well. So
and
just use your voice.
Their employees, right?
Yeah, because it does,
as well as their business and their bottom line.
Especially if you have employees in Georgia, right? I mean, they're going to be affected by this.
That's what I was thinking.
You know, so any company that has employees that are or business in Atlanta or in Georgia, period, right?
Because everybody,
because you know Atlanta is going to be the whole.
Atlanta's the state.
That's right, exactly. All them places, right? So anywhere in that state, and they be making me like, I don't want to be out there because
I know.
Look, and I live in Texas. I want to be like, y'all over there in Georgia, y'all making Texas look good, but yeah,
and that's probably because they turn blue, and you know we know.
Yeah, so let's support our people over there in Georgia and do what you can to really speak up about this. So I just want to call that out because that was something I was like, wait, what? I saw this in the article the other day.
I think I saw it come across CNN when I was briefly watching.
I was like, come on, Black executives. It was like, and we will not be silent. I was like, come on, we won't be silent. Come out here and speak against this stuff. I love it. I'm all for this new awareness that we're bringing and not
empowered.
Not being ashamed.
Demand accountability, responsibility, and like they said, we have a call for action.
Exactly. So this is not the old way that we were doing. We just being quiet and suffering in silence. Exactly. We're gonna make it that way, you know, by using our voice in whichever area that you have influence.
I love it.
So
I love it.
Anywho.
So let's talk.
Yeah, you've been doing some stuff.
It's a new quarter.
It is a new quarter. Oh, I'm so glad you went.
And it depends. Like our company's on a different type of fiscal quarter.
Okay.
So I know a lot of other places. March 31st was the.
Yes, for me.
Quarter goal.
Yeah, for me in sales. You know, that was like that first coming out of 2020. With a bang, trying to get them numbers together and all that. So all last week, I was just like heads down, focused on pushing stuff to close and
that's good.
All that. So, and that was new for me because I wasn't, I never really been on no quarterly like sales calendar type of thing.
Right.
So it was very interesting. Like I was doing it last year, but this year was like I feel like I was way more in my role, like had a full year of experience to be like, okay, and this is what Q1 looks like. Cause I didn't have a Q1 last year. I had just started in January.
So this is your first Q1.
So this was my first real Q1, you know.
Okay.
So I was like, oh, this is cool. So I made my goals.
Good. And you probably feel you think about
like,
this.
Oh, I made my goals.
Think about this. We had our vision board, right?
Mm-hmm.
She talked about breaking out the goals by quarters. Makes sense.
And for me, I gotta do that anyway.
Exactly. So
it forces you to do stuff. Like when you put those times in there, because I have it broken down like January, February, March. And I know what my goals are for every month. I have my whole year already planned out for work as far as my forecasting and what that looks like. So for work, I'm doing it. And it's like, what other things do you need to be doing the same exact thing and breaking it out like that so that you keep good goals?
So did you do it personally?
Mm-mm.
It's fair. I don't think I did either. I mean, I didn't have a specific like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do for first quarter that I can think of? And I hate that I didn't actually.
But you did some stuff though.
Yeah, and I guess I need to be more diligent about writing those accomplishments down. But so for me, like I said, our fiscal quarter is different, and I'm not on the sales side, but I support sales. But for this month, I kicked off my month. I will say this. Let me take that back. Professionally, I'll probably have like a few goals, right? Like, okay, for this first particular quarter, let me enroll in a course, right? Some form of course, because one of my personal core values, or I'll say two, is learning and continuous improvement.
Definitely.
So I always try and figure out like, okay, if I'm going to accomplish a goal, how can I incorporate my personal core values? And so for work, I saw that they had a list of courses that we could take. And so I was like, I saw 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
And I love that book.
So I read that book well over probably about 10 years ago.
Let's see when I read it.
Yeah. How would you know?
Because I have an Audible of it as well.
I do too.
And I re-listen and I go back and I can see like when I
yeah, she's really good with the Audible, especially when you were like commuting.
I earned a badge. Yay.
And so I saw this class and I'm like, okay, wow, they have the book, but I've never actually taken a class. So I was like, I was intrigued and I was curious. So I enrolled in the class. It wasn't even like intentionally, I didn't look at the date. It was just like, oh, this is the first available date. Let me enroll. Took the class. It was a half a day for 2 days. And it was such a great class. And now that I am older, much more wiser, and also more intentional about being present, just being at this class helped me to realize the growth since I've read the book, right? And then also look at it in a different perspective going forward. So as I go to this road to 40.
Road to 40.
And so last week, Alicia said, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
That is so true.
And so I thought like, wow, it's so aligned to where I am right now. And so the instructor asked like, hey, how many people have read it? And of course it was virtual. So, we raising our hands and shows. She's like, yeah, Kim, come off mute. Tell us. I'm like, what are your thoughts? Me? Right. Like, and I told her, I said, well, I read it when I was previously at my old job for 20 years. Now I'm at a new job, in a new role, and in a new industry. And so she was
in a new space.
Exactly. She was like, it's time and space. So you needed to refresh and reset. And I don't think a lot of times we think about, okay, we have to change our mindset. Because I potentially had the mindset of where I was at.
Yes, you did.
Right? Exactly. Right. And so
because that's your environment, right? You're going to be influenced by your environment.
And we talked about that last week about plants and growing in that environment. And so if I need to grow with this company, now I'm in a new environment. How do I nurture and nourish that?
Come on, nurture and nourish. Nurture and nourish. I need to have the right soil and the right water, because you can't just pour regular tap water up in there. You got to have that distilled water and have that spring water. You got to put the right environments around that. You better go, girl. It was a show on in Living Color It was called "Go On Girl." It was like a talk show.
You know what? I do remember it.
I think it was
You have a good memory.
Kim
Wayans.
Kim Wayans and the other one, Kim the other Sinclair from Sinclair from she was the host. Yeah, she was actually the host.
Yes.
I think.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I gotta get. I used to watch that show faithfully, so that made go on, girl. And she was like, my man came home, and this happened.
You have a really good memory.
I used to watch a lot of TV.
Okay.
But no, I'm with you on that because there are things that's just like the Bible, right? Like you can read it and it doesn't connect, and then you be going through something and you read that scripture and you be like,
I feel that.
Yes.
Right.
So I feel you on that as well. You got to change it up and revisit some things sometimes and be like, you know what, let me go back to this.
Well, and I share with them that I have like 2 books outside of the Bible that I read and I refresh like at least annually, or
the 4 elements,
4 agreements, the 4 agreements in this book, because it helps you put you in a mindset because of course my favorite agreement is take nothing personal. And because I think,
which is hard for me.
It is, huh?
Mm-hmm. Well, I've been practicing.
Depending on who it is.
And I've been practicing on that. You know, I feel like I talked about it on the podcast, but just like being like, let me take myself out of it at a certain point, because I would feel like everybody is coming for me when if I'm getting bad service. Let's say I'm just getting bad service. I'll be like, oh, they think I'm not worth giving good service to. You know, like it's immediate, you know. So my therapist helped me with that, taking myself out of it and be like, maybe that's how they treat all their customers. Wow. You know, it might not have nothing to do with you. So really saying, hey, it might really not be you. Maybe they're going through something. Maybe something else is going on in their life. You know, all these other things that you could do. So yeah, I'm with you. I
mean, you sent me the meme, not to derail. It said, when I thought about the mood, it said
that was from last week, right? Yeah. Oh no, that was this week.
Exactly. It says, I'm at that, well, with all due respect, I don't feel like talking right now portion of the pandemic.
For real. Because you got to control these things.
And people have to realize it's not always about them. It could be that person could be going through something. Their vitamin D may be low, and that vitamin D has an impact on your mood, mentally, emotionally, and physically.
You never know. Okay, so for people who haven't read the 7 habits, let's go through what all the 7 habits of highly effective people. We definitely recommend you all go get the book and read it. They have it. What's the one? Show the one that you have for the teen. Oh, were you going to do that later?
Nope.
I'm like, that messed up your reveal.
You did not.
They have a teen, and my kid's school is a Steve Covey certified something the elementary school.
Yeah.
And they went through the 7 habits with the kids from their level every year as a part of their curriculum, leadership development.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I love it. So the reason I have this book is because when I read it, I think Kiara was transitioning from middle school or maybe to high school. I don't know. It was that weird little age. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I always like to have her read a book, at least one book during the summer. And so, of course, being the person of personal development, right? I was like, I'm going to get her on this little journey, mm-hmm. right? So I saw that book and I was like, oh my gosh, I got to order it. When I tell you this little girl was into this book, and it's the way that it's written, they have pictures, so it's not just all text, right?
Yeah.
And they have examples that really relate to it. So even if you just get this for your kids and you read along, I think everyone could benefit from it.
Yes.
And it put her in a mindset, right? So let's go through these habits, because one of the things about the 7 habits of highly effective people helps with increasing your productivity, improving communication, because we know a lot of us struggle with communication, as well as your favorite interpersonal relationships, right? How can we strengthen our relationships? Well, we can leverage the habits.
Yes.
And then also increasing your influence, right? And having impact.
Because you can't have influence and impact if you don't know how to relate to people. You have to.
Exactly.
I learned that I said this last night when I was listening to that Malcolm X speech, and he was talking specifically to these people. And I was like, the way that he's setting up this speech to get them on his side, he knew who his audience was. He knows what they're going to want to hear. He knew what areas what he was saying was going to hit home. You got to know your audience, basically.
You have to know who you're dealing with.
Exactly.
And I think, and that's actually one of the habits. So before we get into the habit, one of the things that really stood out to me was we went over principles and paradigms, right? In terms of the the principles are connected to how effective you are in terms of those habits.
Okay.
And so principles basically are
That's kind of
timeless, universal, self-evident, and in operation whether we accept it or understand them or not.
period.
Right.
You sow, you will reap. That's a
Correct.
principle.
Yes.
Period. It doesn't matter if you're Christian, it doesn't matter if you're Muslim, it doesn't matter if
Yes.
you're gay, it doesn't matter
Thank
if you're
you.
not gay. Sow, reap.
Correct.
That's a principle. Yes.
Perfect. Paradigms. That's the way we think and understand and how we interpret the world. Like my view of something versus your view, right? I view
it's a lens that you put on to see
exactly. It's like your glasses. We could both be in the same, we could both be at the same service at church, hear the sermon, but we receive two totally different messages that we interpreted.
Yes.
Right. So I was like, wow. And then the last one was practices. So based on your paradigms and the principles, you have your behaviors, right? And how do you carry out your paradigms?
Yeah, I love
that. So
that.
how do you respond to
Based
conflict? Yeah. How do I respond to conflict? Your conflict resolution might be very different than mine. It could be aggressive. Mine could be non-aggressive.
Right.
Right. So I thought that was
that's
key
good
when you think about paradigms, like
because you got to start with those things to see why I'm doing things this way. And this is why I've always been a curious person, even from when I was a child, asking questions of my friends, and why diversity is so important, because I'll be like asking about their religion, asking about their beliefs. You want to learn these people's core values, because why? When you do things, you're doing it out of that. So I want to know why you're making certain decisions and doing things a certain way. If I know that, then I'll be like, that's why they do this, because they believe this way. This is what they believe.
And you don't know how someone was raised and how they respond, right? How I respond to a situation might be completely different based on how I was raised.
Yeah. If you grew up in an abusive household, you might be super like ready to fight, or whatever all the time. And if you grew up in a household where you can really have a voice, you might be really quiet, and you'd be like, why are you so quiet? You're like, well, this is what I'm used to,
yeah, exactly.
I don't like this.
Well, and it also kind of goes back to mindset, right? Like the fixed mindset versus the growth. Like homework or something, like, oh, I can't get this problem, I'm not able to do it, I just can't get
I'm
it.
stupid.
Yeah, I'm dumb.
Yeah.
Whereas it's like, well, can you help me? Right? Can you help me solve this problem? Or I can show you a different way to solve it. 1+1 or 1+2, you can get to 4
multiple
ways.
And I think as a parent, it's something that I've been learning to do, because a lot of this personal development stuff I do is for my kids, because I want to be able to be the best version of myself, to parent them well, so that I'm not using the same tactics as my parents who did not have the skill set to parent, a certain way, or the areas where I'm like, oh, I wish my mom would have been better here. Let me try to figure out how I can fill that gap, right? And then when my kids grow up, they'll be able to
parent even better,
do the same. Yeah, right. So they can fill those gaps.
It gets better. I had this conversation with Kiara just this morning about how I raised her. I said, I did the best I could based on what I knew, but I also tried to make it better and not do some of the same things that my mom did with a different approach.
Okay, we still haven't read the habits yet.
You want to read them or you want me to read them?
Okay, habit number 1, be proactive. And that's pretty self-explanatory, but it's about being not reactive, right? So if we're always reacting, the foundation is, how can I think ahead and prepare, right? Do they have like a little summary of what they say?
Don't just react to the external events and circumstances. Become responsible and take charge of your life.
There you go.
So it could be easy. I need to set goals.
And I'm learning that even in business, right? And as I was coming up, I really wasn't trying to be, I was trying to be a good worker, like in my roles, but there'll be times where I'll be like, I don't feel like doing this job. I don't care. It ain't my responsibility. It ain't in my job description.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Right. But when you're being proactive, you're thinking ahead, and you're saying, you know what? I want to make sure that when I'm communicating this email, that is clear to the person on the other side, and I'm not leaving room for guessing, because I want them to make sure that I'm getting my point across. So I'm thinking ahead, saying, if I'm this person, does that make sense to me? I'm just doing certain things that make sure that I'm thinking a little bit more in
You're
advance.
anticipating need as well.
Right. So habit number 2 is begin with the end in mind.
All right. So the summary here is stop acting aimlessly, set goals, have a clear vision of your destination, put directed efforts, and turn those goals into reality.
It's just like the measure twice, saw once, cut once type of
Yes.
thing, right? Like
Yes.
make sure that you're not just doing stuff.
Right.
Like
Or
what are
it's
we
like,
doing? Where are
I
we
would
getting
like
to?
to have a house. That's my end goal.
Right. What do I need to do to get there? I got to count up the costs. That's the that's the other version of that. All right. Habit 3 is put first things first. What's the
So we have focus on the tasks which are important and contribute to your mission, right? Delegate
mm,
the tasks which are urgent but not important.
they have a little quadrant for
It's
that.
yep, it's one it is. And you want to focus on not what's urgent, but what is important. Because I
Mhm.
find a lot of times people will also project their urgency on you. That's not necessarily important to you.
Oh, exactly. They'll be like, hurry up, come on. I need
Yeah.
first of all, that's your urgency, not mine. I got to prioritize my things in the order that I
Correct.
need to. So that's kind of like that. Yeah. What's that book? Eat the Frog First or something like that. There's a book called Eat the Frog First or something like that. You have to see it. It might be on, you might go. I feel like I read it too. But basically it's saying like do your most the things that are the highest priority or maybe even that's going to be like your hardest thing.
Right.
Take care of those first so that you can get those knocked out and then work on the little things later. And don't be focusing on stuff that's not important. Like you should not be watching Ready to Love if you have not done what you need to do for the day. So that's that. All right. Habit 4, think win-win. That's my favorite one.
It is my favorite one too. And I don't know that we do that a lot,
Yeah.
especially in this generation. So the summary here is always seek solutions which are mutually beneficial and mutually satisfying. Your success must not come at the expense of success of others.
Ooh, that's a good one. So if you want to be really good at networking, if you want to be good at sales, that's the skills that you have to master. Period. You have to be thinking about the other person and what they're going to get out of this. Like me just connecting with you and be like, "Hey girl, you seem like somebody cool to connect with." For what? Why?
What value am I bringing?
Exactly.
What solution am I solving?
I need to
How can we both win?
when I reach out to somebody to connect, I'm already thinking, what can I do for her?
Yep.
Or him? What do I have to offer this person? What am I bringing to them? Something. I gotta bring something. You can't just be
yeah, and it's not always like I'm doing this so that I can get it in return, because a lot of times you do things for people and you do not get it back from them. You
That's
get
so
it
true.
back from someone else, right? So it's like, how do I think where everyone could win? Like on a team, like my coworker, if we have this solution, how can she win as well? How can this win be for both of us? And I even think about that, like being a parent. Like I want to win for Kiara. How can we both win out of this situation?
Because then what happens is the other person feels good about it.
Yes.
You don't ever want to feel swindled. You don't ever want to feel like somebody is getting you, that you're draining draining them instead of adding to it.
Exactly. It's what we talked about, the emotional bank account deposits, right? Are you making withdrawals? Are you making deposits? And really, it's like those small things add up. It's not like, oh, I need to make this big deposit. It could be something very small that you're doing over time that adds up, which also builds trust.
Exactly. Because it's like, oh, well, she's been doing stuff like so long. She's never asked me for anything. That's why it's not good to network when you really need a network.
That's true.
You just start building relationships so that you never know. I'll be like building relationships and I'm just giving and giving and giving. And in my mind, I'll be like, I don't know. I don't need nothing from this person right now.
Right.
But one day something might pop up 3 years later and I'll be like, oh, let me call so and so. But I've already built credibility so long that they're like, sure. Sometimes that's how that works. So habit 5, seek first to understand, then to be understood. That is one that I've developed over the years. Actually, probably after reading this book, which I couldn't see the time frame. It didn't show it to me, but it was definitely like 20. It was before I read Lean In. I read this book before I read Lean In. So that was 2013 when I read 7 Habits.
Okay. Probably.
So
yeah, I read it before my dad passed away. So this one is put yourself in the shoes of the other person. Don't just start giving suggestions or advice without first listening empathetically to the other person. And I think the key there is empathy and listening,
Listening.
right? Because sometimes we do not listen to understand, but listen to respond.
You're just coming in like, no, let me get my point out and trying to say your thing, get them to, get on your side. You haven't even heard their issue or what it is. So you're not going to get to an understanding.
Correct.
If you haven't heard. So somebody has to take it on. So if you're the person reading this or listening to this or hearing this, you're the one that needs to take it on and do it. All right.
And so for that one, listening is an art. It's a lost art.
Yeah. It's a practice.
It really is.
Because you have to keep practicing how to do that well. Because you could just want to, for me, it's definitely something I continuously am working on.
Same.
You got to do it. 6 is synergize.
I love this one. So understand that the whole is greater than the sum of its part. Mm-hmm. So when I think of synergize, I think of us
collaborating.
Right? That is the word that immediately came to my mind. And the proverb that I always bring up: if you want to go far, go. If you want to go far, go together. Mm-hmm. And so if you don't, you're gonna go at it alone.
What is it? If you want to go fast, it says something like, if you want to go fast,
let me pull it
go alone. If you want to go far, go together. It's like a 2-piece. It's a 2-piece and a biscuit.
She said a 2-piece and a biscuit. If you want to go, that's
the one. Hold on, go down. If you want to go fast,
go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
There you go.
So you think about teamwork.
Mm-hmm. Makes the dream work.
Yeah, you're on a project. You can do so much more together than alone. Like even on my personal team right now, I collaborate really well with my colleague, and we get so much done quicker and faster, and we go further.
Because you could do it and then burn out.
Yes.
And then you're like, nobody, I'm doing all the stuff. Well, if you can delegate and each person take a part. Now we can get deeper into this, and go further with it.
Well, and then everyone plays to their strengths as well.
Got to. I'm working on that right now. We're divvying up some pieces of a project, and it's like, who's passionate about what? Like, let's first start with that, right? Like, what are you connecting to in these things? Some people, I like this, I want to do that, because you're gonna be more passionate, eager to do it, right? So starting with stuff like that, just to be like, okay, cool, then I'll take this and we'll keep going, and split it up and divvy it up and go our ways. Habit 7, sharpen the saw.
So for this one, we say enhance and renew the 4 dimensions of your nature: physical, spiritual, mental, and social, so that you can stay effective in the long term.
Mm-hmm. That's like what we're doing right now. Learning and development, personal development, reading, educating yourself, continuing to put yourself in uncomfortable situations so that you could be exposed to more. And it's just going to keep growing and growing and growing.
And you become more effective. And it's helps you all around. Not just professionally, but also personally. Exactly. And I definitely encourage you to practice this with your children, especially if they are school age children. Like, and they start them now, because I'm gonna tell you right now, this helps with critical thinking.
Oh my gosh. I would use this against the kids so much, especially since they had, been learning it at school, and I'd be like, think win-win, in the situation. Wow. And I'll tell the boys, like, let's say they're like, mom, they're both coming to me trying to get me to solve something. I'm like, well, guess what? Both of y'all need to go and figure out how to make it work, or nobody gets it. How about that? And it forces them to work together.
Win-win or no deal.
To find exactly. That's exactly what it is. And so those little things, and put first things first, begin with the end in mind, like all those. We can use them all.
All of that, it all connects.
Yeah.
And it'll make for, to me, like a healthy, well-rounded person.
Yeah.
Because I even thinking about the synergize, Kiara and I synergize. Water heater, water everywhere. She helped me. We had to synergize to get the stuff cleaned up.
Yeah. Well, it's a win-win because you don't want to be up in here with no messed up situation either.
But you have some kids that would not have synergized. Like,
Oh no, you
come
gonna
on.
synergize. You live up in here. You living up in this house. Oh, we
Well,
synergizing.
that's true. That's true.
You're gonna have to
So,
synergize. But no, I love this, and I'm glad you went through this training because it refreshed me back again on the 7 habits. I think they're very worth everyone reading. He does talk about how you see the world. Like that's a part of that first part of the book, kind of really digging into that and seeing why you think the way you think, why you do the things you do, what are your core values and stuff like that. Cause that's what's gonna help you be able to kind of pull these things apart and work on each habit and maybe take a habit every week or
once a
every
month.
month,
You can take once a month.
or something and just start focusing on it.
And it'll help you thrive just as
Mm-hmm.
a person.
Exactly. This is wonderful. I love it.
I do too. So
So
I would say
educational.
that the call to action, like you said, number one, read the book or
Mm-hmm.
listen to the book. Number two, if you have kids, get start them on this. The sooner the better. And then not just read it, but a lot of times we don't apply.
Yeah.
Application is key.
You might could do it together. It's the same habits for the grown-ups and the kids. So really, if you get it for your kids, you can just work on it with each other. And just like, we're gonna work on habit number, whatever. They have a whole folder for the habits with all the little stuff in it. So I was loving it. I was like, I love, we personal
Anything I
development
know
junkies. I'm like,
that's
y'all doing
I'm
7
like,
habits? Oh my God.
that's so sexy.
Super excited. So we got that call to action. And the other call to action is to please rate and review this podcast. If you're listening to us on audio, go ahead and shoot us a little review. Give us 5 stars if you love what you're hearing. And if you're on YouTube, make sure you like, subscribe, and share this with a friend or someone that you think would really enjoy hanging out with us. Also go to boldblackgirls.com. We do have some new merch out, which actually this one isn't out there. This one is just for us. But I might put it back on the website if y'all like it.
I like that one.
But that one is up there. We have some for girls, kids sizes. So, I didn't have the white one in here. But if you go to the website, you'll see it. We have some for both Black girls in your life. So if you just want to go buy someone a gift or get one for yourself, go ahead and do so. We appreciate y'all checking us out every week. And have a bold week. And we will see y'all next time.
Peace.